Now we have Professor Prabir, whom you have been waiting for a really long time. We have kept Professor Prabir for the last day as he was available today. Professor Prabir, the floor is all yours. Professor, you are mute, so you need to unmute. No, you're still.
Yeah, so I'm going to let me just share the screen.
Yes, yes.
And, can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Is the slide visible?
Yes.
So good evening, everybody from India, and good morning, Art and Osif. You did amazing job. So my job would be very easy right now. The majority of the things you covered. However, I'll say a little bit about this program. I'm Professor of Biomedical Engineering and also a chair and a Professor of Mechanical Engineering as well. So if you have some question regarding ME, materials concentration, controls, fluids, I can cover some, if not all. So biomedical engineering needs a little explanation, unlike any other traditional engineering program. So this is a very interdisciplinary program that tackles issues mainly using engineering principles at the interface between medicine and biology. So you can see from the name itself that it is very interdisciplinary. To see what we do in terms of research in biomedical engineering, you can go to our website, take a detailed look at it. We have outstanding labs. We have collaborative biomedical engineering research center, where all bio components in our university, not just biomedical engineering, but biomedical engineering, bioinformatics, health sciences, physician assistants, biology, all have a collaborative space to do amazing things that we want to do. I'll not talk much about the research, but I'll talk about the courses that we implement by taking all the components of research here. So here is the course curriculum, as you can see. So let me do the full slides here. So we have core requirements. There's 16 credits of core out of total 34 credits that you need to do masters in BME. And you can see from the courses itself how interdisciplinary they are. So 16 core credits. I have put the title of the courses as well as the number. As Dr. Mahmood mentioned, numbers don't mean anything to you right now, but once you come, then they'll mean a lot. Biomedical engineering, biomedical materials and engineering, tissue engineering, bioelectronics, then you have thesis and engineering colloquium, that is 1 credit. These are the core 16 credits. The other optionals that you have, that elective, 18 credits, you can choose from a plethora of courses that we offer. And one good thing is because particularly during the pandemic and also at the waning phase of the pandemic, you can understand now how important this field is. What I mean by that is allied health and biomedical engineering. That is going to be $1 billion industry. Medical devices, genetics, genomics, pathogen detecting biomedical instruments. These are going to be huge. So keeping all that in mind, the courses that we integrate into our program are very interdisciplinary, and you can always take 2 or 3 extra courses that are relevant to biomedical engineering theme from other engineering programs as well. Hence, later I'll answer to the question that a student asked, a very important question a student asked, how AI could be used in immunity. And hence, AI has a tremendous applications in biomedical engineering and medicine. So I'll answer to that question once we are all done. So these are all the courses. And you can choose courses from various concentration, like biomaterials and biomechanics concentration, bioelectronics concentration, cellular molecular bioengineering concentration, and bioinformatics. So all these courses are covered here. And what we do is, depending on the need, we meet with IAB, that is Industrial Advisory Board. They provide various supports and suggestions and directions as to where the industries are going. So we take their advice, and sometimes we add 1 or 2 new courses as you need. And those courses are mostly interdisciplinary. They're evolved, need. Always, every field, they're disproving the old concept based on the principles and they're coming up with a new concept. So hence, you have to use the modern contemporary issues in your courses, which we do, and we keep in mind of that. So where exactly do our biomedical engineers work? That is, many of you will be most interested in knowing at this point. They work in universities, they work in industry, they work in hospitals, and various research facilities in industry as well as in academia, and various government agencies. I'll give very specific examples as we go by. And their education and experience in this interdisciplinary area allow them to bridge the engineering and medical fields. And truly, so you will see where our students have gone. So I'll give you a very brief statistics as reported by Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is an old report, 2011. That has a perceived 72% growth in biomedical engineering field as we go on. And as I said to you, that allied health and biomedical engineering, especially as we saw through the pandemic, allergy, infectious disease, biomedical devices, instrumentation, computational tools and discoveries for disease prediction, drug discovery, drug delivery devices, genetic understanding and then curing, pathogen detection. I will quote from an outstanding seminal journal called Nature. So you have been through semiconductor era, that is electronics, that is going on. Now we're entering into a new era that is called infectious era. No question about that, because once deforestation is happening all over the world, a lot of new pathogens that find peace with animals, they're coming to human habitat. I'm not scaring the hell out of you, but what I mean by that is these pathogens needs to be detected quick so that they don't spread their allergic abilities throughout the human society. Hence, there's a need for infectious disease detections very rapidly, and we'll detect that medical machines. That's why you'll see this field is going to be tremendously amalgamated with pharmaceutical sciences, toxicology scientists, geneticists, and all the allied health area. And there is a humongous surge of funding in this field. Going in the next decade or so, it will be $1 billion industry. NIH and NSF are creating their own programs to fund various specific areas of health. And then NIH and NSF also created a bridge program of their own so that a common funding should be given to anything related to the health, which is biomedical engineering, allied health, and various other areas. So it's a very increasing field. So there's a tremendous amount of need. Salary, etc., are reported here. On the average, master students get salary like $65,000 to $80,000, depending on the company. But that I'm not going to dwell on. That is the case with every field. So job, as you see from our universities, almost every student gets a job. Pretty interesting is the location of the university. Dr. Mahmood pointed out briefly. I'll tell you, in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area, there are largest number of Fortune 500 companies, including the Massachusetts. So students after graduation don't have to go far. They have tremendous opportunities here to get a job. Now, I said about the statistics, I talked about the courses very briefly, but now let me be very specific as to where our students have gone. We have started our biomedical engineering program in 2010, and our first intake were in 2010 fall. Since then, we have placed our student, or our student placed themselves after being trained here in Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, Mayo Clinic, Illumina. And I'll specifically tell about the student story here, who was working in Illumina, now has moved on to another big company. Bristol Myers Squibb, CVS Health, Cadence, I don't want to read, you can see all these. There are large companies, there are intermediate size companies, there are small startups, and few of our students have also formed their own startups. So, job placement has been tremendous. I'll not take much time. So let me show you how important this field is and how interdisciplinary cutting edge research that is going on by us as well as the other researchers in this field everywhere else. So here is an example. You can see we have made a small supercapacitor. It's the electrical component. Capacitance change as a function of, conductivity, function of inductance, impedance, etc. But what we did is we made the capacitors, then used their capacitors to sense very small quantity of DNA by using capacitive sensing. So you can tell when you make the capacitors, you need electrochemistry. So you need some people who know a little bit of electrolytes and electrodes, etc., their chemistry side. Then you need electrical engineer who can measure the properties of capacitance, Faraday, non-Faraday reaction, etc. You need materials folks who can see the internal structure of the capacitor, see how layered they are. These we capture with a very precise electron microscope that are 10 to 20 nanometer scale images it can show here. And then you use that to detect. So the detection device, etc., are again computer engineering, electrical engineering, and chemistry involved. So this field is very interdisciplinary. This is just not to say that how great we are doing, but it's to show you how interdisciplinary this field is. Of course, this paper we published in Nature in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see there's a humongous area of molecular dynamics, simulations, computational biology, and bioinformatics that is solving a lot of problems. Google has a branch called DeepMind. DeepMind has various softwares like AlphaFold and all. They talk about protein folding, protein misfolding, and what kind of disease can come up. We are working on brain organoids, where we're putting little tiny circuits where particles are scattered all over, then growing brain cells, which are organoid, like brain cells from mice. Then it is growing from, let's say, 10 days, 20 days, up to 90 days. While it grows, the various genes that controls our thinking, it's a brain organoid, like it has a midbrain, hindbrain, and in a posterior of the brains, all these brains are coalesced with certain genes talking to each other. So if some of the genes that are very important in our cognition, if they overexpress or underexpressed, some implications comes up. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to have this electronic, circuits and trying to pass little current and trying to, stimulate these genes that we don't want to do and see what happens. So you can do a lot of interdisciplinary work by fabricating nanoscale materials and understanding biological processes. And I'll tell you briefly one thing, that these computational tools like bioinformatics, they not only predict this folding and misfolding of the proteins, but also you are now discovering drugs by theoretical structure prediction. For example, we're all going through this COVID. These strange changes in femtoseconds, as you can tell. And this strange change is basically proteins folding. So a lot of advanced software tools, either individually or in combination, can predict this theoretical possible conformational structure of the protein. Hence, series of medical drugs could be synthesized. So this field is very, very important, I'll tell you. I've been working in this for the last 20 years. If I consider my PhD even more. So I think if I am excited in this field, the students here have every reason to be excited, those who are interested in this one. Here is a simple work, just for interest, I'll show you. So you see, this is your heart. And this heart is growing on an artificial nanoscaffold on a petri dish. These scaffolds have been made by us. The cardiomyocyte cells have been stem cell derived at Rutgers University, and NJIT has electrophysiology lab. So we used all these and we built a real heart. Basically, what I mean by cardiomyocytes derived heart cells growing on our scaffold. So you can see these heartbeat rates we measured, they're like a healthy people. We published this work like 3 years ago. You can again look at Nature to see our paper. So you can see how interesting this is. So approach on improving health is changing. Engineering is absolutely important to provide suggestion to the physician. So here I mean the biomedical engineers work exactly at that crossroad. How engineering principles, all engineering, chemical engineering will be talking about fluids and transport into the body and nutrients. Mechanical engineering will be talking about shear, control, stress, contours on the joints and various muscles, their motions and movement. You can see there is an area, kinesin protein, how they move on a different membrane of the cells and how they involved in forming energy into the mitochondria. These are all engineering principles. Tiny robots like proteins, they move and they form a loop. The moment they form loops, it tells that convert ATP to ADP, and hence the energy is produced in mitochondria. So you think about this engineering side of the body. It's so sensitive. We do amazing work on 3D printing. I have a no fear program, a nano opportunity for freshman engineers in advanced research. I recruit really specific high school students to do this work with the help of master students here. So you see, some of the high school students, they form the slicing structures using the 3D printers, G slicers, and then they combine those slicing with the CAD, and then on that, the printed biological molecule. So this is a plastic printed like a heart. It is not like actual heart, it is a heart scaffold. And there now you can, pack myocardial cells and see how they behave. So the very interesting things could be done. And this is, I'm not going to talk much about this. This is the brain cell related work. Research in action, you can see we do a lot of steps here. You're seeing we produce biomaterials. We have electron microscopy apparatus. We see final structures. and then various other things that go on in the field. I'll be happy to take your questions. I'll give a few examples before I do that. We have a student who graduated in 2018. Now he's a manufacturing specialist in Moderna. By now, you all know what is the Moderna company. We have another process engineer recently hired in 2020 in Moderna. We have Jessica Ingram, who is now a manufacturing engineer. Now he's kind of senior research engineer in Medtronics at a very high position, traveling to 24 countries. Reagan Morrow, she is a senior analytics product manager of Proofpoint. These are the specific examples I gave you. So idea is, if you have, the main point is, if you have determination and your ambitions, then no matter what, any field you'll be very successful at. And at UB, we are very small. Faculty student ratio is very, very small. Hence, all the faculty, they always talk. And if you need, let's say, to work on an interdisciplinary project, you don't have to just specifically work with me, but in collaboration with, let's say, Professor like Professor Mahmood, we have Professor Patel in robotics and automations, we have many other faculties. They can give you input to make an interdisciplinary work very, very successful. So with that end, I will again show you a list. But these are the company normally are hiring most of our students. And with this, I will just end it.